I figured it out. This is really a high school where everything is secondary to who is dating whom, except lives are at stake in this book. Hey guys, welcome back to the read-along of the Cyborg Tinkerer by Meg LaTorre. We've made it to chapter 15 and 16. And it doesn't get better, not really anyway. So Gwen and Bastian spent a couple or many hours in this library looking for information on implants and how to fix things. And it must have a bathroom, it's not mentioned, but if they're in there all day, then it better have facilities. But my main question is they are gone the entire day and nobody seems to be missing them. Like the watchmen they left at Bastian's door don't seem to care that they are gone. Nobody needs either of them all day. It's a bit strange. Also, nobody seems to use this library beyond Bastian at the moment because there's also nobody coming in there. It must be so secret that the show management team doesn't care. So at some point Bastian actually goes and gets them some food and Gwen notices that he doesn't really eat and she has this observation to share for it. He'd always been a thin man, but his tall frame had become even wirier since she'd first met him. How would you know that he had always been a thin man? You know this guy for roughly a month. For all you know, he could have weighed twice as much a year ago and you wouldn't know. So it seems like an odd statement for her. Of course, because Gwen really belongs in horny jail, she notices more about his appearance. Regardless of his size, it was obvious he was a handsome man and one to be reckoned with. Where does this reckoned with come from? You haven't seen him do anything exciting or impressive, really. I mean, he got you out of prison, and so Cleo wants to join us. Maybe. Anyway, I don't think Bastian deserves this qualifier. I have no idea why he would be somebody to be reckoned with. He's done nothing to deserve this. Yes, are you coming up? But because Gwen notices that he's not really eating, she wonders whether he has serious issues with bulimia, although it's called restricting within this universe. Yeah, you don't think anything about restricting, do you? You would never let food go to waste. But also you don't really have the same psychological issues that humans have, do you? Okay. And since Gwen notices that he seems to have issues or that there seems to be something wrong with his relationship to food, she tries to be a therapist on the spot because she's really the right person for that. And that's also how therapy works. You have a 5-minute conversation with somebody and everything is good, you know. Obviously that doesn't go down too well with Bastian, and I'm on board with that. These two really don't have a relationship where you just lay your innermost feelings out to discuss everything. No. Yeah, as Bastian says, I don't need you to psychoanalyze me, and I agree. And then I feel like Gwen is fantasizing or projecting a lot of stuff on Bastian. Despite her initial dislike of the man, who always seemed to act more like a beast despite his formal speech, they'd become a sort of battlefield comrades, the kind that bonded over a hardship that could never be spoken aloud, a hardship that marked you for life. What do you think, Cleo? Have they shared a hardship that should bond them? They've done the surgeries together, yes, but the second they came out of that room, Gwen was mad as hell at Bastian for involving her in this, so clearly you didn't bond then and there, did you? And even after that, I don't think they actually had enough contact or enough of a conversation about anything to really bond in any way. But then I haven't been through anything as troubling as, butchering cyborgs, so maybe I just don't know. Anyway, instead of helping Gwen research, Bastian gets his own book out and starts reading some smut. I mean, nothing wrong with reading smart, sure, you know, read whatever you like, but is this really the time and place? You cannot get into this plastic box, Cleo. Cleo, don't make me throw something at you. I'm gonna throw a plushie. Gwen teases Bastian about the book he's reading, and in turn he makes a comment about her vocation and her choice of bedfellows, which of course Gwen interprets as like, oh, do I hear jealousy there? And I'm just like, oh, Gwen, can you please stop? Oh my god, just go and get laid with Aurora or something, but get your hormones and your libido under control, dear god. Bastian actually shares something with you that makes sense. I'm jealous of no one, he replied smoothly. Happiness should be found within ourselves. Nothing good can come from comparison. That much is actually true. You're not doing yourselves any favors comparing yourself in any way. But that's, I think, the only piece of wisdom we get in this chapter. In turn, she makes a comment that is a bit off base, I think. So that's why you're starving yourself, because you're so happy on the inside. It's like, wow. For somebody who literally just tried to psychoanalyze this guy, you're going for a low blow, aren't you? Bastian tells her off. Like, what he does is none of her business. Just like her sleeping with Roa is none of his. Which makes Gwen blush. And I don't know, he comments further on how obvious those two were with flirting at each other and making eyes at each other. And I'm just over here like, why do people even care so much? I mean, there are like 300 people at least in this castle, right? And everybody seems to be so interested in this one new person. This is like me in the office, and it's like we have a new employee and suddenly everybody's like, oh my god, he's talking to this other person. Who are they dating? It's like, maybe the direct team gives a shit, but nobody else. Yeah, like these performers clearly don't have anything important to do. You know, aside from a competition, it could cost them their lives, but who the Tinkerer is boning is so much more important. Bastian summarizes his purpose. My job was to get you here, Miss Grimm. It's your job to do the research. Brilliant, so you're telling me you've been reading this smut romance novel for hours now while Gwen was doing all the research and you were just there having a nice day off or something? And like, wow. Splendid ally you picked yourself there, Gwen. I mean, not that she had much of a choice, but damn. We're back with some questionable phrasing, I think. But I can't remain idle and watch all of my recruits be butchered to death. Is there any other kind of butchering you can do? Like, is there a version of butchering where the victim is still alive after? Because I don't see it. But anyway, within this discussion we also learned that Bastian thinks, all I know is that to save the many I must hurt a few. So far I haven't seen an awful lot from him that could be seen as saving anybody, to be honest. I mean, he's trying to help Gwen, who will then fix more people. Well, helping, I mean, he led her to the library and then read his smut novel, so it's something, but not an awful lot. Yeah. Gwen does ask when the second competition will start, which also means that like a couple of chapters back it was just a mistake and she meant after the first competition, not the second, because I thought we'd had to miss the whole second round of the competition. But no, it was just a mistake left in the book. And the second round of the competition will already start tomorrow, so... Except it's already dawn at this point and it's literally today, so... Oh yeah, just before that, Gwen finally found the correct book that she was looking for. And figured out that she did something wrong with the cabling in Mazana's foot. In chapter 16 we switch back to Aurora, who gets rudely woken by a watchman who already has his baton in hand and is ready to whack her if she doesn't get out of bed. But Aurora is prepared. She has been sleeping in her performing gear this whole time because she would never be surprised by another competition. But her most pressing concern right this second is, oh my god, they have keys to our dormitories. I thought only the performers were supposed to have keys to their own rooms. Like, this is your biggest issue now? There are people actively trying to kill you and you didn't expect them to have keys to your room even though you live in their castle? I don't know. Seems fairly obvious to me that the mistress somehow has access to keys to all of their rooms, but... Which also brings me back to, what is this competition for? If she wanted to harvest certain parts, and she could also just send watchmen into the rooms and knock people out at night, drag them away, get her parts, and people just vanish. She could totally make that happen. Rora thinks too highly of human beings in general. How much did the mistress pay the hired soldiers for their obedience? It had to be a hefty paycheck to wordlessly usher cyborgs to their deaths. Are you sure? Because if the propaganda has taken hold over the past 10, 20 years, whatever, and these people actually think of cyborgs as lesser than human beings, then they are willing to do an awful lot for not a lot of money, if any, for a whole lot of reasons. And yeah, I just think Rora thinks too highly of human beings in general here. All of the performers get ushered back into the theater, and Arcu and Mizana argue who should go for the second competition, but because Arcu did round 1, Mizana insists that she will do this one. Rora comments on Celeste's heels, which are apparently impressive. Her heeled leather boots impractical for anyone, especially the keeper of beasts. Rumor had it she used her heels to keep misbehaving animals in check. This is stupid. Using your heels, I mean sure, heels hurt, but I think preferably if you have, say, a lion that you're trying to tame, then you probably want something to keep this animal in check that is not attached to your body and that lets the animal come this close. So that seems like a stupid idea. They get their objective for this competition, which is to go and find the red dragon and bring it back. And apparently somebody peed themselves behind Rora because she couldn't hear the distinct patter of water hitting the floor. And I'm just like, thank you? Like, is this a person in a skirt or with literally no pants on? Or, like, in general, I didn't need this image. So they're supposed to bring back this dragon alive, which then makes me wonder if there can only be one winner, or like one group that wins. How the hell are they supposed to transport this dragon? We learn that it's like 2 to 3 times the size of a human being. So Rora is already screwed because she is a group by herself. No, there's only one performer of any group going in, so no single person can win this for themselves. Unless they manage to spontaneously tame the dragon and fly away on it. Because otherwise, yeah, no, you're just totally screwed. You might as well not go out and not risk anything because you're all fucked anyway. Yeah, so a dragon is roughly 2 to 3 times the size of Aberkan, who is already a good deal bigger than Rora. So I say 4 Roras to 1 dragon. So it's not much bigger than an elephant, but that still leaves you with the question, how the hell is anybody supposed to transport that? And unless the dragons in this world are actually built like birds and are super light to actually achieve flight, not happening. And previously we learned that the circus is out of money, that people are not getting paid and that money is tight. Yet now all of the performers get equipped with climbing gear and weapons. And why would the circus have climbing gear for so many people sitting about? I sincerely doubt they had much in the way of climbing gear at all, and now they have to equip all of these people, so doesn't this cost more than you're willing to spend on this whole thing anyway? It seems like a waste of money and time and effort, and I mean, I want a pet dragon too, but you know. This is particularly interesting because just like 2 chapters ago, Rora was shouting at Aberkan about how the Watchman must be really interested in him potentially murdering some of the other performers, but now something Celeste says makes Rora think that she had just given him and his followers a reason to pick them off one by one. So clearly murder among cyborgs is encouraged in this competition. So then I don't see why anybody would care when Rora goes out and tells them, oh, Aberkan killed people in the first competition. Nobody would care. And since Rora is just as horny as Gwen, she thinks about Gwen before she goes out as well. And she couldn't help the feeling that the Tinkerer had Rora wrapped around her finger rather than the other way around. You're generally in a life or death competition. You've just been told a pretty impossible task. You know that some guy who hates you already and who has declared himself your enemy has just been given permission to more or less kill you, or at least try. And she thinks about Gwen instead. Like, is even the prospect of near death not enough to distract her from her hormones? Obviously, Rora and Mezana are working together, even though they're not from the same act, but they also join forces with other acrobats because they figured out, okay, if we even want the slightest chance at winning this or, not dying, then we need more people in our group. So they reluctantly join forces with other acrobats and then head out to find a dragon. And because I was confused and worried for the dragon at the end, you get to see this wonderful work of art that I scribbled in there as well. Yeah, I'm siding with the dragon. Whatever happens, I'm siding with the dragon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week with the next part. Like and subscribe if you want to help this channel out, and let me know whether you read the book in the comments. Bye guys!